Let us now have a look at the cost of incidents. It is important to bear in mind that the extent of a loss is not limited to the cost to replace or repair. The immediate or obvious loss or damage may only be the tip of the iceberg. It is accepted in many organizations to adopt the following Pareto principle. In simple terms, this rule can be defined as follows. 80% of the losses will normally be associated with 20% of the exposure, or as the result of the loss doubles, the claims frequency will halve. Other techniques, such as statistical estimates, asset values, and impact studies, are also available to determine possible loss extent. As we can see in The Cost of an Accident by Frank Bird, the insured cost or initial costs of an incident or accident are only the tip of the iceberg. The insured cost of R1, such as for medical, compensation, and property damage, are way less than the uninsured cost of insurance excesses, uninsurable losses such as wages, training, overtime, as well as interruption and delay of production, or the uninsured property damage to tools, equipment, and production delay. Let us now have a look at the cost calculator. The cost calculator can help us to see what the actual cost of an accident or incident is, since there are many underlying costs that we often forget. Please have a look on page 18 of your student manual. Under the details of the actual incident, note down the date of the incident, the description of what happened, and the person or persons who were involved. Now we get to the immediate actions under dealing with the incident. Note down the time as well as the cost of first aid treatment, transport to hospital, making the area safe again, firefighting, immediate downtime, or any other immediate actions. These will all have a time spent allocation as well as a cost associated with it. These would be the immediate actions. Now we get down to the rest of the actual cost of an incident. We now need to investigate that incident. There is a time to investigate and report, as well as a cost associated with that. Time to spend in meetings to discuss the incident. The time it takes to spend with other health and safety professionals or the SAP, as well as any consultant fees that need to be paid. Then going back to work, assessing and rescheduling work, recovering work or production, cleaning or disposing of waste, product reworking, repairing damage, or hiring and purchasing tools and equipment. Each of these has a time spent allocation as well as a cost associated with it. Then there are business costs, such as the cost of the salary of the injured person, as well as the salary cost of the replacement person, or perhaps the lost work time, overtime cost, recruitment cost, contract penalties, or cancelled or lost orders. What about actions to safeguard future business, reassuring customers, or providing alternative sources for supply? Then there could be the time cost or financial cost of sanctions and penalties, such as compensation claims, legal fees, dealing with legal, fines, criminal charge costs, as well as the increase in insurance premiums. There could even be further, more underlying costs that we could note down. Then you will note the total time and cost for a separate incident. Now we can see the actual cost of an incident and accident. The initial cost is just the tip of the iceberg, and then, using this cost calculator, we can really drill down to see what it costs a company for an actual incident. The total costs of incidents arising from risks is a much broader concept which comprises the following components. This could be the cost of insurance premiums, the cost of uninsured losses or retained losses, the cost of measures to prevent or reduce losses, as well as the administrative cost of risk management. When it comes to the property loss or damage, there are both tangible and intangible costs. Then there are consequential losses, such as business interruption, supply interruption, loss of profits or finished goods, reduced rental income, interest on borrowed funds, increased insurance, hired labor or machinery, the loss of market share, increased advertising costs. What about the costs of paying for liability claims, such as product liability, professional liability, environmental impairment liability, employer's liability, claims arising from industrial relations issues, or even retained liability losses? There are even costs associated with injury or death of individuals, such as statutory insurance, personal accident insurance, group life insurance, or retained costs. And then pure financial or economic loss. This would be any cost that is not included in the above. So what do we learn from the information that we have just spoken about? That incident prevention is vital. Learning lessons from individual accidents and incidents is invaluable in improving preventative and protective control measures. The analysis of a group of accident reports can aid in understanding of accident causes, accident priorities, as well as trends within your company. There are a range of factors that may provide useful information upon analysis. These relate to the accident and the injury, the injured person, and the time and location of the accident. Make sure that you note down the direct causes, the underlying causes, and the root causes of all incidents and accidents, such as the fall of a person. This means the falls of persons from heights, either from trees, buildings, scaffolds, ladders, machines, vehicles, or into depths such as wells, ditches, excavations, holes in the ground, even falls of a person on the same level. There are incidents where a person can be struck by falling objects, such as slides and cave-ins, collapses, struck by falling objects during handling, or struck by falling objects not elsewhere classified. They are stepping on, striking against, or struck by incidents and accidents, such as stepping on objects, striking against a stationary object, striking against moving objects, or struck by moving objects, excluding falling objects. Then there are caught in or between objects, such as caught in an object, caught between a stationary object and a moving object, or caught between moving objects. Incidents and accidents can also result from overexertion or strenuous movements, such as overexertion in lifting objects, pushing or pulling objects, handling or throwing objects, as well as any strenuous movements. There are incidents and accidents that arise from exposure to or contact with electrical current, such as from power tools or sources of power, including cables or any other exposure or contact with electrical current. There is exposure to or contact with harmful substances or radiations, such as contact by inhalation, ingestion, or absorption of harmful substances, exposure to ionizing radiations, or exposure to radiations other than ionizing radiations. There are even other types of accidents that are not elsewhere classified, or accidents not classified because of a lack of sufficient data. All of these incidents and accidents can result in a loss, in particular injury to a person, such as fractures, dislocations, sprains and strains, wounds, artificial injuries, contusions or crushing, burns, acute poisonings, effects of weather exposure and related conditions, asphyxia, effects of electric, effects of radiations, multiple injuries of different nature, or other unspecified injuries. The lessons learned are clear. Incidents and accidents cost. They result in the loss of life, the loss of financial gain, the loss of health, as well as the loss of production. We note that the cost of incidents and accidents are just the tip of the iceberg, and the underlying costs could far outweigh all of the initial costs. The loss of life, the loss of health, as well as the different or various types of injuries caused can be prevented. And prevention is better than cure. What do you need for you and your company to ensure incident and accident prevention? Start with the evaluation of your procedures, your processes, and your standards, and ensure that this takes place on an ongoing basis for continual improvement. Ensure the improvement or redesign of the work environment, the work processes, or the work procedures. Make sure that employees are trained and educated in job techniques to improve awareness, understanding, knowledge, and skills. Remember, employees need to adopt a good attitude and have a motivated behavior for occupational health and safety. Personnel have to be suited to meet the physical and mental demands of the jobs. If employees are transferred, they must be retrained. Following health and safety rules sets a good example to others to do the same. So, enthusiastic leadership must be displayed, and health and safety achievements must be acknowledged. People who do not adhere to healthy and safe practices need to be counseled.